Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass. Thank you for watching this Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. Our software gives growers the insights to make the best decisions possible about their operations. Well, it's finally here. This week we've been talking about now for almost 2 weeks is arriving, where we're expecting to see a pretty big pattern shift for the remainder of December. And it's all going to start on Monday. So what we're looking at here is the all hazards weather map put out by weather.gov, valid on Monday. And the big player is going to be this trough. So basically this black line outlines the kind of flow of the jet stream to start off our week. Now, while the jet stream takes this configuration, all the colder is going to be locked up here in Canada, and it's going to be locked up here kind of in the Intermountain West, with some broad warmth still spreading across a big section of the Corn Belt to start the day on Monday. But what's going to happen is this flow pattern is very supportive of an upper level development of a low pressure system running through here. So the low pressure system's at the surface, but strong upper level divergence, which is where the air is flowing out aloft, will help lower the atmospheric pressure. And due to the trajectory of this trough, that low is going to lift over toward the Great Lakes. Now what we're looking at on Monday, as you can see, are large area winter storm warnings, winter storm watches, and the red in here will be blizzard warnings, because on the back side of this low, so it's going to follow this yellow arrow, on the back side it will be cold enough and very windy to support blizzard conditions, which take 35-mile-an-hour winds, falling or blowing snow, and you got to reduce the visibility to a quarter mile or less for at least 3 hours. So that's what it takes to get a blizzard warning. So we're looking for one right in through here. But it is this trough and this low that's going to usher in the change. Warm weekend, warm start to the week for the Eastern Corn Belt. Things get really different after that. So here's what the whole system looks like playing out into Tuesday and eventually into Wednesday and early Thursday morning. What we can see here is that by the time we get into pretty early in the morning on Monday, we're going to be watching the development of the low somewhere in this, South Dakota, Nebraska area. Now watch what happens as it gets going. A lot of this out here, this is all going to be rain, okay? Because we're on the southerly kind of flow side of the system. So this is a lot of rain to start off the day in parts of Iowa and Wisconsin into Michigan. But on the backside is where we're going to be watching for the formation of the snow. So you can really see a couple things here. This is noon on Monday. Look, the pressure gradient tightens really nicely in through here as this low deepens, and it's going to be most certainly cold enough on the backside for snow. So all this back here will be snow, and if these winds due to this tight pressure gradient are over 35 miles an hour, you got yourself a blizzard. Now what else is interesting is as we continue to animate this, the system is a very, very sharp, right in through here, cold front. And along the leading edge of that cold front, we're going to have some pretty strong lifting of the air in the atmosphere. And as a consequence, we could see a line of showers and storms moving through the southern parts of the central Corn Belt, getting all the way back down into Texas, Arkansas, into this area. So the models are picking up on that line of stronger storms. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But watch this. After it passes through, strong northwest flow ushers in much, much colder air. And then basically we have to watch out for this pattern to stick around and remain maybe for 3 weeks, maybe longer than that, because we've just broken down a pretty big ridge across the eastern half of the country, and it looks like it's going to have some staying power, this new trough. Now, again, I told you there's some risk of some stronger thunderstorms as well. Here you can see what the Storm Prediction Center is watching out for on Monday. So right in through this area as that front moves through, a marginal risk for some severe weather. Just keep an eye out on it as this front comes racing on through. Expect big changes after it gets through. When you look at the whole week, by the time it's all said and done, I want to point something out to you here. Because the low develops here and then really draws most of its moisture in as it moves toward the east, those same regions that we've been talking about now for quite some time as being very, very dry, it's been dry here over the last almost 45 days, they're going to miss out on this. And as the pattern really sets up, I think this area is going to stay dry for a long time. So we have to be watching this area as we continue through winter because, yeah, it's most certainly going to be wet and snowy out east. It's certainly going to be snowy up here, parts of Minnesota, the Dakotas, northern Wisconsin, Michigan, after the system goes through, but dry in through this area. Now here's the overall pattern setup getting us through the next 10 days. We're watching the operational GFS. The big players are the reinforcing kind of troughing action we're getting in the jet stream over here, Bering Sea, near the Gulf of Alaska. But because of this pattern, this deep trough here, we're shoving a huge ridge up into Alaska. Temperatures are going to climb in this part of the country, displacing the warm air that's here up north right down over to the eastern half of the country. So this is the deep trough that we have to keep an eye out on. Now, what might make for a snowy and very active kind of storm pattern for, let's call it the eastern half of the Corn Belt, maybe stretching all the way back to the Dakotas and Minnesota, but certainly the east coast of the United States, is that, watch this, as I animate here from Wednesday on, pay attention to these little lobes, these little short waves coming around the broader trough. Those are going to kick off very weak little systems. See, watch them. 1, 2, 2. There's a few of these 3, maybe even 4 that come around this. So every time one of those little shortwaves kind of orbits around this bigger low, well, we get another chance for more precipitation. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. First, temperatures. So here's your Monday minimum temperatures for Monday. Look, that trough is over here. Deep, cold air over here. Warm air out ahead of it. But watch this. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And by the time we get into Friday here, we've got a huge section of the country experiencing minimum temperatures below freezing. In fact, you got to get up here in the kind of the northern Minnesota area, and we'll see actually temperatures below 0 Fahrenheit. So very, very cold in that area, and certainly lasts all the way through Saturday. But watch this in animation. This is your next 10 days of kind of significant weather. And you see the first big system. This is the one we've been talking about. There's the heavy snow on the backside, lips right through Lake Superior. But as I animate this, watch these little things keep coming spiraling around. They're not much, but each one of these little systems are a clipper system. Alberta clippers, they move real fast, but they might bring these shots of snow in for parts of the Corn Belt. Maybe, from the Dakotas, getting into Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Just got to keep watching these little guys come spiraling through. And each time they do, they may kick off a system that goes up the East Coast, bringing them some snow as well. So there's a lot of going on here. Very active pattern as we move forward and set up into this big ridge out west, deep trough over the east, and settle into more what we would call more normal December temperatures. So it's certainly going to get cold, but this isn't going to be record-shattering cold. This is just a little bit colder than average, but certainly cold. So turning our attention to Brazil, let's watch the next 10 days of accumulated precipitation here by the GFS model. We've had a pretty, well-established South American convergence zone where we're getting, our strongest precipitation patterns riding through this area. So this would be Mato Grosso do Sul, Goiás, and the Tocantins. We've really seen rain move into some places that were really dry earlier in the season. But again, where the rain is missing is in parts of Argentina. So we can see the next 10 days, we got some really dry pockets down here. A lot of this will be hit or miss. And some of this rain isn't forecast coming toward the end of the period, which kind of gives me a little less confidence in it occurring. So we're kind of seeing some drier conditions on the north and south of the of the South American convergence zone. And that's really what we're going to be watching. And the bigger question is, as we transition through December, getting into January, does this area tend to dry out as some of the longer range models suggest? Again, we're waiting on some brand new model data to kind of give us a clue on that. As soon as it's in, we'll start talking about it. But overall, I think this is the pattern we're going to be seeing at least for the next 10 days. So normal South American rains for this region, but dry down here in the southern growing regions of Argentina and parts of the southern growing regions of Brazil. And so with that, I think I'll wrap up this video. We hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Thursday. To get morning farm report for your operations, complete with a daily email that shows you a snapshot of your field conditions each morning. Go to morningfarmreport.com. Sign up for a free account. Full grower accounts are free if you sign up for our Sustainable Yield program or for growers who work with AD merchandisers. Look forward to talking to you again midweek.